Hi, Raul. Another great day of chatting with you. I'm so excited. It's a Friday. It's beautiful. Everybody's looking forward to the weekend, and we get to talk about AI performance. I'm really excited about this particular topic. I hope you are.
Happy summer weekend Friday, Michelle. Glad to be here.
So I've been really looking at a lot of the media, a lot of the press, and you start to see a lot of hype and buzzwords around AI, right? So everybody's talking about groundbreaking, game changing, all that kind of stuff. And you really try and cut through all that sort of noise and get beyond that hype. Can you tell me, what does AI performance actually mean to businesses?
um, yeah, no, happy to talk about that, Michelle. So what we see typically is like there is so much like AI is so much out there,
Hmm.
and literally like every company, every leader is thinking of like, okay, I have to do something with AI. Um, and the way we think about this is, and I've seen this historically, right? I've been in this business for like 15 plus years of like AI and machine learning and data science. And invariably, people start off an AI project for the sake of doing something with AI, and then they don't like the results and the ROI, and sort of things fizzle out. So it becomes like a lab experiment almost, and can't be used in the real business context. So the way we approach this problem is like, okay, what are the business problems our clients are trying to solve? Is AI the right tool for that business problem? And so you might list down five or six, and you might pick one or two that you think AI can be needle moving, right? And so start with the business problem first. Uh, uh, do a quick assessment. Is AI relevant in the outcomes the client is trying to achieve? For example, we had a client uh, who they had sales teams who were doing some evaluation, like what if analysis for their clients, sales teams, sales engineering teams, and that what if analysis involved some bit of data science work. And so what they would do is they would take the client request, they would create this requirement doc, and they would send this document to the data science team saying, hey, like my client needs this what if analysis. And like the data science team is like, man, I'm spending 30%, 40% time on these requests that are coming from the sales team. Like, can I make this self-service and like give them a kind of application that they can just use to do this what if analysis themselves, right? Like, what if I increase my transaction number by X? Like, how does that how does that impact my risk assessment? Or what if I throttle down um, on the risk stuff? Like, how does that impact my transaction volumes, right? So these are the kind of what if analysis that sales team would throw over the fence. The data science team would do that and give it back to the sales team. They're like, man, I'm spending 30-40% of my week in this. Is there a way that AI can be used to like create these sort of self-service what if analysis, right? Where you can just like you do with generative AI, like gives a few amount of like inputs and guidance to what you're trying to achieve, and then get back uh, uh, your scenarios. And so that's where we start with the business from. Like, I don't want to spend 40% of my time doing this what if analysis. I just want these scenarios and what if analysis to be self-service by the sales and sales engineering team. And then you apply the right components of like machine learning or data science or AI that are most relevant to solving that problem, right? And that's sort of the way we approach these problems, right? And now you may not take away all 40% because there might still be some complex client needs where the sales team has to come back to the data science. But if you took out 30%, that's a great place to start, right? So then you, at the end of this whole setup, and all of this can be done through an agentic workflow, right? Once that's all done, Um, on the other side of it, you measure, okay, how close did we come to not having 40% time spent on this work, right? And okay, we didn't quite get to 40, we got to like 28. That's better than zero, pretty close to 40. And then we have, that's just the starting point, right? We have a long way to sort of keep fine tuning, improving, to get to 40 at some point. Um, but that's how we approach these problems. And that's why the performance, which is like, what is the business performance you're trying to achieve, is the starting point, and that's what you anchor everything on.
Yeah, and then what that does is free up capacity, right, for those data science teams. And what do you find that they typically, with that excess capacity, what are they typically going to work on then if they are freed up?
So what we're seeing is like, there is a desirable aspect of everybody's job, and there is a lot of like undesirable aspects, and the undesirable aspects are a lot to do with like, uh, some workflows, some steps that are like some kind of logic that are dictated by previous contexts and so on and so forth. And almost everybody wishes they had an assistant to do some of these things. And finally, these AI agents are kind of like virtual assistants, right? That can execute relatively independently with little amount of guidance from you, on guardrails from you on how to go about doing this stuff, right? So almost everybody is trying to take part of their jobs that are sort of this repetitive, just very tactical, undesirable work, and hand it off to agents so they can focus on the more complex, like the thinking, the strategic, uh, uh, the more, it's hard to like just in a step-by-step way solve certain problems. Like that's where they want to focus their energies and time, both from an intellectual standpoint as well as what's the best use of their time, right? Just from an ROI standpoint.
Yep.
So that's what they're trying to do, right? They're trying to scale by handing off some of their tasks to these agents so they can go off and scale and do some of the more complex, more strategic work, as a part of their role.
And that really helps businesses, because in today's marketplace, especially, there's just a high degree of volatility and uncertainty in the market. And if they are freed up to deal with those more complex issues, right, and help the business drive value out of that uncertainty, that's a win-win, right, for them intellectually, but also for the business to get outcomes that are kind of breakthrough results, right? Something that's new and innovative is what they're able to do. Excellent. So tell me a little bit about the agentic AI that you just described, and you really focus on the combination of the agentic AI along with human expertise as the approach that you use at RapidCanvas. How does that hybrid approach differ from traditional consulting firms, traditional AI projects and software? So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I think the first thing to bring about here, right? So there are two ways to think about this. Hey, am I giving 100% self-service platform to my user, and that's it, and they can figure everything out on their own, right? That's one extreme.
Mm-hmm.
You have a platform. Good luck. You're on your own. Figure out how to solve your problems. The other
You
extreme
teach
is
them how
like,
to fish, so they're fishing on their own. They
right.
don't. Okay,
Figure out
great.
fish. You just give them like a fishing rod. Hey,
Yep.
go fish, right?
Yep.
On the other extreme, it's like, oh, I am a consultant. I'm going to help you design this problem, design the solution. I'm going to help you actually implement things that solves your problem. But your problem is my problem, right? And I'm going to fish for you, and I'm just going to hand you the fish, right? This is the other extreme.
Mm-hmm.
I think what I see more and more, right, is agentic AI allows us to get the best of both worlds, right? And so let's take the example of self-service, right? Self-service is great when your tasks are very simple. Um, I have a spreadsheet and I need to massage, I don't know, 200 rows, and I need to make some basic manipulations to like 3 columns. Great. You don't need to think very deeply about how to do it. It's just a matter of like executing some tactical steps, right? For that, self-service is great. Um, Imagine now you have a problem. It's like, okay, I am a manufacturing company.
Hmm.
I order raw material and I create finished goods, and I want to reduce cost of inventory by 500,000 every year. That's not the same as the spreadsheet problem, right? You need to think through, okay, like where are the bottlenecks in my inventory? And I think the business part, most people have it buttoned down. So when they speak to us, they have an understanding of, okay, here's where my bottlenecks are and here's what I'm trying to solve for. But this is where, even though Rapid Canvas is a self-service platform 100%, people need a thought partner to be like, okay, here are my constraints, here is my problem statement, here is my workflow. um, I am at a certain number in terms of my inventory costs, and I'm trying to reduce that by 500,000. And how do I break this bigger goal down into meaningful, smaller problems that I can then solve using the platform, right? Uh, and there you need a thought partner, somebody who understands your domain, somebody from both a data science standpoint as well as a business standpoint. And you can work with them saying, okay, if this is my high level goal, here are the 3 low hanging fruit opportunities in this workflow. um, Here you can apply some kind of heuristics model, another place you can apply some kind of machine learning model, and here you can apply generative AI techniques. And sort of you break down that problem into meaningful, easily executable kind of projects. And then 100% self-service is totally doable. But like taking that one strategic intent, breaking it down into meaningful, workable problems, solutions, projects, um, you need a thought partner for that, right? So the difference when you compare us to a company that only gives you their self-service platform and says good luck, versus we give you our self-service platform, but we also say, okay, I know you're not using us to solve simple one-step problems, you're using us to solve really complex business problems. So here is your thought partner, and work with them. And then once you identify how easy it is to do very tactical stuff using agents, you're off on your own. But we will be there with you every step of the way till you have 100% confidence that this is a solvable problem, right? So that's our comparison with self-service versus self-service plus expert in the loop. Now
Okay.
you take the other extreme, right, which is, well, consulting firms have been doing this, right? They give you consultants as thought partners, implementers, but the cost and the time it takes like 9 months to solve this problem. And it's the cost of having 5 people. There is like one project manager, one strategic consultant, 2 engineers who are implementing what you want them to like. There's just like an army of people doing stuff for you, and it takes them 9 months. So you're paying for all that cost and time, which is instead here now agents do that work, and it's incredibly fast. So within 4 to 6 weeks you should see your first outcome. Oh, out of that 500K in inventory optimization, I got to 100K very quickly. Out of the 3 hypotheses, I solved one, I got to 100K. I have high degree of confidence. I know how to go about solving my hypothesis one by one by one, running experiments, coming up with outcomes, and so on. So you got there much faster in 80% less time, which also means you spent 80% less in trying to get there. So from a time and cost standpoint, when you compare this to a completely services expert based setup, it's like incredibly more cost and time efficient. Plus, you have a degree of autonomy there because you can be experimenting with our thought partners, and not just rely on these people who are services consultants that are kind of like black box. Like they're like, oh, this is the best I can do. You're like, really? Like I can't even see what you did. I don't know how to change what you did. I have to come back to you for all of that, right? So that part, I think this hybrid model of having an expert in the loop, but making the platform 100% self-service and agents replacing a lot of the work that actual tactical implementation work that engineers would do. I think it just that's the recipe for success long term. That's where we are headed with agents.
Yeah, and I think that what's really interesting about that model is that you also are building in credibility in the AI because you are partnering with the business, and that you have the platform which takes everything from that black box and makes it really transparent. And they're on that journey with you, right? So they're learning. Maybe they can, some people will be able to implement those types of solutions themselves so they can self-serve in the future. But even if they don't, they see what you're doing and they understand it, which helps build the credibility in the outcomes as well. And it helps them to be able to explain to other people in the business how you got to a potential outcome and solution.
Exactly.
So that is...
you don't come across as somebody who's like, well, I talked to this vendor, they did this, and here are the results. Okay, explain to me why this number makes sense. Well, I'll have to go back. Let me come back to you. You don't have to do that anymore.
Exactly, right? I can represent it. So that's very, very interesting. So tell us a little bit then about some of the outcomes that that you're able to deliver with that model, because people love to hear about you know, real customers and what are the real outcomes that they've had. And if we, you know, if you have tangible results, you know, quantifiable results, that's even stronger. So
yeah. So I can go through you know, some of the examples I mentioned, right? So typically data science, data engineering teams are doing tasks that business teams put on them because the business teams are not self-sufficient. Now, by making the business team self-sufficient, so in this one case with the sales team being able to run scenario planning and uh, being able to do what if analysis on their own for their clients, that saved about 20% time of the data science team. Now the data science team can take that 20% time and go do other things. And this is like a, you know, Fortune 200 client. So it's not like this was a unsophisticated client. They're highly sophisticated, but to sort of apply yourself to this one problem and elegantly solve it, it's just not top of mind. Like people just keep throwing things over the fence, and you know the teams keep taking this input and like turning around because like you don't take the time to like extract yourself from that. And the infrastructure to build this is not easy, right? Which is where Rapid Canvas comes in. To be able to build agents that fast and that reliably at enterprise scale, if you were to build that infrastructure in-house, it takes like 2.5 years, right? So all of that underlying infrastructure is already there in Rapid Canvas. So like you can really solve these problems much faster, which is why you can actually get to it, right? So this 20% improvement is huge for them, especially in the time it took them to get to that end, right? To that answer. Otherwise, it would have been either one of those long drawn out projects whose ROI didn't justify investing the time and you'd never get to it.
Yep.
But now they've actually gone to the other side, which is like, hey, they solved this problem, they have this extra time, they didn't have to have a huge ROI justification of like investing 12 months in a project that was barely like 6 weeks, right? So that was one. The other is this inventory optimization that I talked about, right? So literally that the manufacturing company, we helped them get their $500,000 improvement in how they allocate inventory spend. So in both directions, either your customer wants something and you have stocked out because you didn't have enough of the product, which is bad because that's lost sales.
Right.
On the other end, like you are too afraid that you might stock out, so you're like overstocking on stuff across the board and you don't need that, right? So fine tuning this using AI, like which are the products, how often do I need to stock them, when is the critical moment to reorder, and lead times for these products is long. It's like 6 months. It's not like I press a button, like this is not Amazon next day Prime, right? It shows up the next day. So I need to plan 6 months ahead sometimes 3 months, sometimes, so it's variable lead times. And so everything has to come together. So imagine the complexity of like buyers, sellers, different lead times, the process in which you need a particular component to make the next component, like all of that has to be factored in, again, which is a complex problem, right? But we helped this company achieve 500,000 in sort of better inventory spend just by using AI to solve this multi-step problem. It is like forecasting the demand, optimizing the inventory, and then kind of automating your procurement to make sure that all of this is factored into your whole process.
And is that a one-time savings, or is there ongoing improvements that continue to be made with the inventory optimization so that they realize value on a continuum?
Absolutely. None of this is set and forget,
Okay.
right? Imagine, just think about this business problem. Now, your demand for goods this year might be very robust because GDP is great, the economy is great. Next year, if you have a bad economy, GDP is different. The financial metrics for your customers are different, so they might order lesser quantity. Or in the case of tariffs, like they're expecting the tariffs to go up, so they're going to order ahead.
Yeah.
So you need to adjust. Like this cannot be static. This has to be dynamic. Like you need to adjust as you're seeing situations unfold. Your AI agents need to start accommodating those changes and variations and scenario planning into the forecast and into the inventory forecast and all of that, right? So
yeah, so they have to evolve based on changing market conditions, right? So that means that they're very adaptable in that case.
exactly, and you have to be. Otherwise, there's no point. Like this is not. I have a formula in a spreadsheet and I just run the same spreadsheet. Like no. This is like it has to make you aware what it's adjusting to and adjust to that scenario, right? And this is where I think agents, because they are able to pick up variations and context, right, becomes very, very important as you go forward. So yes, it's not like companies implementing AI should not think this is like a one and done, like, oh, I built this last year and I'm going to just forget about it. No, you have to continuously monitor it, optimize it, um, and ensure that not only are you maintaining the performance, but there are sometimes opportunities to improve the performance. Because the more data AI gets from you over time, the more it learns about you, and the more it can provide better results over time. So this 500,000 could go up to 1 million, right? That's where you just started. Doesn't mean that's your ceiling. Your ceiling could be much higher than that, right?
So what you're describing is AI lifetime value. So just like we talk about customer lifetime value,
There's an AI lifetime
AI
value.
lifetime value. Yeah, I like that. That makes a lot of sense for businesses. So you've talked a little bit about like, it's 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 6 weeks to get to a project, an outcome. And so what's your secret to achieving like a 10x ROI versus like the traditional approaches?
So two things. One is sort of more from a technical implementation standpoint.
Mhm.
Um, I think people are well aware that uh, agents are getting better and better at writing code
Yep.
and writing software, whether it is a UI application or whether it is a data processing application or whether it is a data science model. All of these things can be done by agents now. And you can imagine an agent can do in seconds what, as a human, just for me to just type the code, right? It takes a long time because I have to think, then I have to like type, and then I have to like, oh, no, there's like some error in it. Like, let me just backtrack and like retype it. You can imagine the order of magnitude efficiency gain if you can break down the problem into simple enough, well-known modules. Then the agents are much faster, right? So which is where our expert in the loop helps you break it down into modules, and then the agents are like super efficient at executing on building those modules. So that collapse in the need for engineers to be in the implementation loop, and the time it takes to do that implementation is like really fast, right? So from a technical standpoint, things that are possible today weren't even possible a year ago. So that helps us get the cost and time really crunched down, right? And then from a business standpoint, we just focus on two things. It's like, hey, do we understand the business outcome we're trying to drive? And number two is pick a small milestone that you can quickly validate if you're on the right track. So in 8 weeks, you're not going to solve the whole problem, but you're going to solve enough of it to know that there is a there. Like
Yep.
this is the right approach. You have played around with 2, 3 approaches and you lock this one down and say, if in 6 weeks I got to 25% of my goal, probably another 6 weeks and I can get to the end of it. Right. But I think because there is so much science fiction stuff around AI, you really want to test on a very small scale and scope. Are you actually able to benefit from AI in this situation? Because once you prove that, then everything else is easy. But like knowing that you're you're approaching the problem the right way, and there is the some percent of the outcome has been validated, is super important, right? So from a technical standpoint, the implementation done by agents is faster, cheaper. From a business standpoint, pick a business goal and then pick a small enough scope and scale to validate that goal very quickly. That's the way we accomplish this.
That very much is in line with the sprint methodology that Jake Nape came up with out of Google originally, and where in that case they were building prototypes, right, very, very quickly. But that way it wasn't, to your point, years and months before you got to an outcome. You get to an outcome very quickly, and it's enough to understand what are the things that you didn't know, right? So you figure, you know what you know, you come up with a potential solution very quickly, and then you discover all the other things so that you can continue to evolve your solution towards your long term. So for those of you that are Jake Nape fans, this methodology fits right in line with that as well. So, well, thank you very much for your time today, Raul. It was great chatting with you as always.
Same here, Michelle. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks. Bye now.
Bye.